I did a little commercial. I learned about the craft services table and I was like, where can I come back to get all of this free candy?
Hello, my name is Gemma, and this is, of course, the podcast I don't know what we're talking about. The podcast that goes a little crazy, a little insane, a little all over the place because we genuinely have no idea what this conversation is going to be about today. But I do know one thing, and today I know that I have Krystal Harris with me. Thank you, Krystal, so much for joining us today. I'm excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
You have no idea what we're talking about today.
I have no idea what we're talking about. I don't even remember anything I sent you, so it's going to be a wild ride for me.
That's what we love. That's what we love. So the way this podcast works is before we've jumped on our call today and we've hit record, you have sent me five different topics, which I have right here, wildly different topics. And a few of these I'm really excited about. And I have a feeling some of the topics you've sent through actually fit together in different ways. So I'm really excited to pick one and unpack it and see where it goes. And the fact that you don't remember what you've sent in is going to make this even better. So the topic that I've chosen for us to talk through today is leaving Hollywood to rebuild my life through faith, business, and purpose, which I find really interesting because you've done the opposite, I think, of what most people are trying to do, break into Hollywood and make a name for themselves, whereas you're like, nope, that's it, time's up, I'm done, I'm leaving Hollywood. So I feel like we should definitely start there.
I love this topic. And you're right, I did do it kind of backwards. When I did the original, where I left home and went to Hollywood, and I had a wonderful time there. I was 16, 17 years. And I really enjoyed working in the industry. I just early on in my career started feeling like, oh, in this industry, this particular sect of it, I didn't have a lot of power. So where can I go and get a little bit more? I guess power is not the right word, being able to be in control of something, right? And when you're an actor, you're kind of at the mercy of casting directors. So I said, okay, maybe I'll go in and become a writer because I can just sit down and nobody can tell me yes or no. But then there is still a hierarchy with that. If you want to sell your project, then you still have to go to somebody else. And then the same thing, I was like, well, maybe I could just direct it myself. And so learned that road. And once I gained all those skills, it was kind of like, well, there's such a mass connection of people that I know now. There's nothing really keeping me here other than just wanting to see the same people all the time. I love an adventure. I lived in London for like 6 months, 6, 7 months. So I love adventure. Why not take what I've gained skill wise and just take it somewhere else and live a little bit more comfortably? Because as we all know, Hollywood is very expensive. So I moved to Atlanta, another hub, but I didn't come over here with the same kind of plan. It was just whatever happens, happens. Um, and that I think that's the faith aspect. It's kind of like just listening to that still voice that says, you can do this. Just leap, and the net will appear, as they say.
Yeah. Starting from the beginning of your journey, you said it was sort of 16, 17 years old when you sort of started and entered into that. Looking at your IMDb, everybody should go have a look. You've done some amazing guest role spots in some very well known, very well performing TV series and things like that as well. So, starting, I guess, reflecting back to the start of your journey when you were 16 or 17, was acting something you always wanted to pursue?
Yeah, actually, my first role came from when I was 6 years old doing a commercial from my hometown. Shout out Grass Valley, California. Not many people know it. I did a little commercial. I learned about the craft services table, and I was like, where can I come back to get all of this free candy? So ever since then, I was really into it. And then it wasn't until I left home, like around 17, to go to Hollywood and be able to start doing it regularly. And yeah, I mean, I was any opportunity that was available, I was taking it. I was doing extra work right after college classes. I actually failed my whole first semester so that I could be on set. I believe I was on the show Vegas. So that was kind of a trial by fire. It's actually funny. Back in the day, they didn't want everybody didn't want to work on that show because it was just long hours. The girls are having to wear small dresses because it's a casino. And so what happens is when you go sign up for central casting at the time, people would be there and they'd be watching people and they say, hey, can you work tomorrow on Vegas? And you're like, oh my gosh, Hollywood's amazing. You just walk in and you get a job. And then you learn they try to catch you before too many people talk to you so that you will say yes to working on the show. Great show, fun show, just cold in very skimpy outfits in heels for 18 hours.
Yeah, I think there's always that less glamorous side that people don't see because all they see is they watch the show and they don't think about, oh, these poor women were standing in skimpy outfits for hours and hours in the freezing
Right.
cold. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you started and you really got roles quite quickly then, and obviously had some experience earlier, and you were like, this is what I want to do. You felt like that was your calling, where you were supposed to be, what you were supposed to be doing, and you obviously started pretty, straightforward, walked into it, got offered some work, and you were like, yep, I'm in, I'm hooked. There's craft services, food, good to go.
Exactly.
You were straight into it. Was there a point along the journey or any particular show or set that you were working on and then you started to think, oh, maybe this isn't where I'm supposed to be, maybe this isn't what I want to do? Or was it really because you also mentioned before that control aspect of going, maybe I should write, maybe I should direct, maybe I want to have more creative input into what I'm doing. How was that
Right.
journey for you?
Yeah, it wasn't any specific role. I do know that I was getting, like you said, some guest stars, some co-stars, and it was all very type-based. So after a while, you feel that you have done and paid your dues as a type, and you kind of want to break out of that. And so I've said this before in other interviews. It was literally audition after audition for Hot Girl number one or Bikini Babe number three. And it was like, you come on, you look cute, and you do your thing. And it was just kind of at this point, I was like, I would like to speak a little bit more. I would like to delve into all of the training that I've been doing, all the training that we do. And there's great acting coaches in LA, and you're spending thousands of dollars and you're coming on to a set and you get to say one line, and that's good. You have to pay your dues. But after a while, you want to say some more things. You want to be seen as more things. And so I think that's what it was, just accumulation of, I think I'm more than this. And I was.
Absolutely. So you started to realize that you wanted bigger things, you wanted to do more, be involved more by the sounds of it. How was your shift into writing? Because obviously you just talked about you had to do, you did acting classes, acting coach, like obviously you trained for that. How did you
Yeah.
get into the shift with writing after being trained and obviously taking classes and things? How was that shift?
Well, it's a natural one, but a lot of people don't necessarily think of it because actors, one of our biggest jobs is reading scripts, breaking down scripts, understanding how all of this stuff is fitting together, and then forgetting that you know what's coming next to help portray that story in real time. And because we work so much with scripts, it just follows that you might know how to write one, you know? And so I was just trying my hand on it. I was actually on the set of one of the movies that I was a lead in. It was called, they originally was called The Joneses Unplugged, but I think they've changed the name since to Love Unplugged. Great film with Misha Barton. And as I'm working on that, I'm in the trailer and I just had this idea for this film. And I was like, I've got to write this. And so all throughout the set, me filming that show, I was writing my first short film. And that's the one I wound up shooting when I moved to Atlanta.
Wow, very
So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So other than feeling like you were worth more and you were being typecast and you've had all the experience that you could in being typecast, and then you were like, you know what, I want more, I'm worth more, I'm going to be able to go out and do more, and you set yourself this challenge. One of the other things in the topics that were listed under your 5 topics that you sent me mentioned resilience and things like that. Did your personal journey and where you were with life, because I also know that one of your other topics included some personal things. So did you want to
Yeah.
tie that in as well? Like how was your what did the whole shape of your life look like? Because making a decision to leave one job or move one section of a job or start something new can often be something challenging, whether or not you're an actor or a writer or you work a 9 to 5 desk job. That
Right.
decision process in going, I'm better than this, I can do more than this, I want to take on another challenge, regardless of what that looks like, I think is something that everybody can relate to. So, what was your experience like, I suppose, trying to navigate that yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been kind of opinionated. And I thought highly of myself in a very humble way, like just knowing that you are capable. And I think that's a blessing because honestly, not everybody grew up with somebody speaking life into them so that they could do whatever their mind was set to. So I do have to thank my parents for speaking life into me because I thought I could do anything. I still think I can do anything. Just with enough training and opportunity, I can do anything. So, what I think is the big turning point that people should pay attention to is, are you operating in the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? And if you are operating in the definition of insanity, you may want to take a look at jumping off that wheel and just seeing how else can I get from point A to point B, because it's not a straight line. Anything in life is not a straight line. So that's what I did. I kind of stepped back, looked at the hamster wheel, and it wasn't that I was not happy. It actually was more so that I was getting used to it and complacent. And so the resilient part of it is not, that's not really where it came in. I had a whole bunch, rejection is part of this business. Don't get involved if you're not prepared for it. So that's not what it was. It was more so like, I think I've been sold a lie. I don't have to live in Hollywood. I don't have to get this role, then get this role, then get this role. I actually can jump around and make the puzzle pieces myself. And so as I started thinking that, and I didn't want to be in complacence and I didn't want to still do the same thing over and over, I realized you have to make a radical change, which means uproot, because that's when real magic starts to happen. You get a chance to discover yourself. I went to a place I didn't know anybody. I just picked up and moved. But there was another big driving factor. I also was living in a one-bedroom apartment. I was paying 16.75, which was a deal. It was a deal. Okay. That was probably the best I've ever had to pay. But I'm looking around, and at this point, I was a single mom. I had a baby, and she had just turned, she was about to turn 3. And I'm looking at her walking around this one-bedroom apartment, and I'm realizing, oh, this is what it's going to be. And I didn't grow up in an apartment, not to say that that's bad, but I got to run outside and I had a house and I had these things that I think really shaped the person I am because I didn't live in a box. I was able to explore the world with some land. And because of that, I think it made me be so much more, have so much more belief in myself because my box wasn't small. So I said, I can't have my daughter's box be small. I gotta move. For me, for her, we need a house. And so picked up and just did it. And it was not as scary as I thought it would be because I hit the ground running. My first year here, I joined SAG-AFTRA, the actual committees. I was like working with all these people, and I'm just in and out. I found an acting class the day I showed up to do an audition, and he's like, I said, "Oh, great! I need an acting class because I learned from my time in London. If you want to make friends easy, go find an acting class." And that's anybody. You move, you don't even have to be an actor. Go to an acting class. You'll find some friends. And so that's what I was looking for. But instead, he said, I'm actually looking for a teacher. Do you want to teach with me? And I said, me? That wasn't part of the plan. But sure, I mean, I guess I could do something. And so I became a teacher and I'm still a coach today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so sorry. That's like quite an unexpected like turnaround from what you were doing, and like that shows real character and strength of character to be able to go, no, I want this for my daughter because this is what I had, and I don't want her to have this based on your own experiences. To go, actually,
Yeah.
you know what, this doesn't work for me. I want to try something else, and then to just move like that. There's this thing where I don't have the correct quote off the top of my head. I'm gonna find it, but there's this thing where it lists the most stressful things for humans to go through, and it's general thing, like moving house, divorce, like a loss in the family, and it just kind of lists these things based on the statistics about how people cope and recover and deal with these stressful situations. And the thing that I found most surprising when this research was done, in that the second or third thing on the list is moving house. Like
Yeah.
it beat some things like divorce and other separations and things like that. It was like the second or third top thing on this list that is
Mhm.
stressful and has emotional weight. is moving house, and it's one of the
Yeah.
most like difficult and stressful things that people can do and have to really deal with. So the fact that you did that and then had a, this huge job shape or career shape that didn't really take the traditional path, and then you fell into this teaching position, which I mean you yourself said wasn't part of the plan, but here we are. I love
Yeah, why
that.
not?
And what you said at the very
And I
beginning,
love it.
yeah, stuck with me
Yeah.
as well. That thing about, being humble enough to know that you're better, like humble enough to know that you can, do better, you can be greater, you can, where your skill is,
Yeah.
where your attributes are, but you can be humble enough about it as well. I think is such a good balance. I really love
I
that.
think it's important. And I think it's just really important. Like when you shake yourself up, you are forced to find solutions to things that didn't have in front of you. And I think that that's really important to continue to grow your skill set and continue to grow your character. And I think moving house is stressful. It absolutely is. You're walking away from memories made in a specific place, and that's going to come with something. But we should always be evolving. Sometimes we're always growing out of who that shell was, that person was before. And if you stay in the same area, that's what my English professor told me in honors English back when I was in the 12th grade. He said, please leave here. Don't stay here, because this is my biggest advice for you guys. If you can leave, you will discover yourself. If you stay here, you will be the same person you are today. You will hang out with the same people you hang out with today, and you'll stop growing. And that stuck with me. So anytime I feel like, oh, have I plateaued in my growth in this environment, I may need to reevaluate and shift because there's more layers to uncover.
Mm,
I'm sure I'm moving again.
yeah. Do you ever have fear behind that though? Because we've both sort of said, okay, statistically and in our own experiences, moving is, a really hard and difficult thing to do because you are uprooting. That's exactly the right word
Right.
for it. You're saying goodbye, you're moving forward, you're making that change because you want to, because you can see the plateau, you can see that there needs to be change. How have you, or maybe you haven't, had to navigate through, I don't know, fear or anxieties around making those big life changes?
Well, I guess the only fear really comes from the relationships. And I can use a really good example because the Atlanta move, I had a friend and I was like watching, they were helping me move, and I was like, man, I will not see you guys anymore. Like these friendships are about to be over. And my friend, I love her, my friend Arlene, she said, oh, the only relationships that are going to end are the ones you let end, and we're not going to let them end. So it's up to you. And I was like, and she said it so matter of fact, and she was kind of like a little aggressive. And I was like, I like that. You're right. And she's actually going to be in my wedding in September. So she was right. Like it's really what you choose to keep. That's the beauty of it. You can actually now say, I wanted this, and I'm going to keep this, but that I think I'm going to put to the side.
Hmm. Beautiful. That's so amazing. I love that she was a little bit aggressive about it.
She was,
I like
yes.
it. He's like, no, 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 we are still friends. That's not going to change. We're going to make that work. I love it.
Right.
Well, we're about halfway through our time together today, and before I have more questions for you, and I really want to get into what life looks like for you now. Now that you've left Hollywood, now that you've changed what you're doing, and you've been like, no, I'm going to do this my way. I really want to dig into
Yeah.
that a little bit more. But before we do that, we're going to play a game because this is my favorite part.
Okay.
We're going to play a game. The game is called This or That. And I gave you some warning before I pressed record that there was going to be a game, and you were like a little bit apprehensive. So don't stress. It's going to be fine. It's fun.
I am a little nervous. I'm a little nervous.
I gave you no warning. I just all my poor guests that I do on this podcast, I give absolutely no warning and I throw them in the deep end. But you all swim and you swim fine. There's no sinking here. The way the game works is called This or That. I'm going to give you two options, and you just pick one that you prefer, that you like better, that you think sounds better. Easy as that. So
Okay.
the first one for you: travel by car or travel by plane.
Plane.
Oh, that was quick.
Absolutely.
You didn't even need to
Yeah.
think about that. You were like, yeah, I know this one.
Plane means I'm going somewhere far,
Uh,
usually further than a drive. So let's go on a plane.
Yeah, I feel like your country size and my country size are quite similar, so it does mean the same thing. Yeah, plane, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm there. It's easy. I'll fly halfway across the country. It's going to take me hours if I drive. I've had this conversation with people who are based in Europe, and the idea of
Yeah.
taking a plane only means holiday. Like there's no other reason to take a plane other than holiday because that means you're leaving your country. Whereas I
Yeah.
do understand being based in the US and being based in Australia that if we're getting on a plane, I could just be going to a different state. Like I'm not
Yeah,
necessarily
like I
leaving.
could be going up the street
Yeah, that's right.
somewhere that literally takes 6 hours by car,
That's right.
but it takes me 45 minutes by plane.
You get it. You get it. Beautiful.
Yes.
The second one for you, summer or winter?
Mm. Winter.
Okay.
Yeah, winter. I like being warm. That's why I hesitated. But winter fashion, fall to winter fashion, so my favorite. And so I like being bundled up. I like covering up a little bit too. So I think definitely winter.
I am 100% on your team with that. And people, especially in Australia at the moment, it's starting to cool down now. So we're heading into winter, which is my favorite time because, yeah, it's the cute jackets and the long trench coats and like it's the scarves and it's the warm winter style and
Yes.
fashion for me, I suppose, that I'm like, yeah, I love this so much. Whereas I don't like the heat. I can't handle the heat. I'm
Yeah, I like the warmth. I love the tan I get in the summer, but at the same time, I can't cool down as well, but I can always warm up
That's my
if it's cold.
argument. 100%. That's my argument. It gets to the point where it's no longer appropriate that there is nothing else you can take off to cool down. Whereas you always put on another jumper,
Exactly.
like you always put on something else. Like there's always options to layer.
Exactly. Oh,
100%.
thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. My daughter came down. Sorry.
Right? Third and final question for you: hero or villain?
Villain.
Well, that was quick too. You didn't even need to think about that one. Why?
They're more interesting. You know, the I always used to say if I got a chance to play any character that I like, my dream character would be somebody from like the DC universe, but a villain. Because typically what turns somebody into a villain is such a emotionally deep journey that takes them from a innocent kind of being, and then you just see, well, how far down did it go for them to get like this? Because a villain doesn't judge themselves. They don't think that they are actually bad. A villain thinks that they are doing something righteous. And so the psychology behind where do you have to go to think that something that is universally accepted as bad becomes righteous? That is a very interesting foray into the human mind for an artist.
Yeah, no, I love it. Definitely. Absolutely. Very cool. Well, thank you for playing. So painless.
I liked that. That was fun.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. So we've got a little bit more time, and I'm gonna swing it back to your journey through Hollywood, from getting roles and acting classes and acting coaches, and being like in love with craft services, and then going, actually, no, I think I can do more than this. And then you sort of, we've talked about you pivoting from that to doing writing and script work. And then you mentioned that after that, you were like, actually, no, you know what? I could still do more. And before you mentioned directing. How was that
Yeah.
process? Because that sounds like that was kind of the next step in your career or your journey, I suppose.
Yeah, it was just a necessary one. It was like I used to be told I used to say, I write to influence my director. I want him to see what I see. And I did say him because I didn't actually really understand that women could be directors. This was years ago, but you didn't weren't faced with it. And I think Ava DuVernay coming out was really one of the first times I like it was hit me in my face. Like, wait, that is another job avenue. Okay, that's cool. So I'm not writing to influence the director. I'm writing this way because I see it some way and I have a director's mind. Great. Let me play with that. And so I started going down that road, and I've definitely directed a few things of my own. I've directed some things that are not my own writing, and I've directed plays. It's been a lot of fun. And so, yeah, just another natural step. I mean, and I wasn't done. Still wasn't done. Like I was like, well, maybe I could be an author too. I'm gonna write a book. So I did that. And then I need to be a publishing print because I learned that when it goes this way, you don't actually really own it. And so I don't like that. So let me open a publishing imprint and get trademarks. And now I've got a publishing imprint. It's been fun being me.
Yeah, it's been a journey. Wow. Okay, so your story, yeah, you've constantly kept growing. Like in everything you've done, by the sounds of it, it's been
Yeah.
like, okay, what next? what's the next challenge? What's the next hill to climb? What's the next thing that I want to grow from this? That's really encouraging. That's amazing. So now I've got like six more questions. What what was the process then in moving to that? What does life look like for you now? Like on a day to day basis, what are you currently building? What are you working on? What's the next hill that you've got to climb?
Well, I didn't disappear. I've been here. I just kind of faded a little bit. I think people were like, what is she doing? And I didn't tell anybody because I believe certain things do require some silence. But I can talk about it now because I'm done. And so I decided to go revisit that failed semester that I did back in when I was working on Las Vegas. And I wanted to go back and get my degree because I hadn't gotten a degree. And so I was like, I know I was going to go back at some point. I did 3 years. Let me just go finish up this year. And I was going for an English degree. So I just said this shouldn't take too long. But then I've lived in the world. I'm a published author at the time I'm going into uh, to school to get an English degree. So I said I kind of know what that role is, and it's the next thing would just be being an educator. So I do want to actually learn something else. And so I did business and entrepreneurship. And then I took one accounting class. That was the first class I took in college, going back. And my professor made this thing seem very complicated. And it was very complicated. And I was looking at it like, this is a different language, don't know it at all. I don't like being confused. So I put in extra work and I wound up being really good at it. And then I got mentored. He kind of took me under his wing, and he pretty much like aggressively, like my friend, told me I need to change my major to accounting. And what is it going to take you? 2, 3 more semesters? And so I was in school for 4 years. So yeah. And but now I just graduated this past this like last earlier this month. I graduated earlier this month with double bachelor's, magna cum laude. I'm 3.87 GPA, and I have 2 degrees now, accounting degree and a English degree, just to make it official. And then I'm going to start working as a accountant at Deloitte because that's cool. It's like one of the biggest firms in the world, and my dad was really proud when I told him. So we're going to see where that goes. Then come back to making movies.
Wow. Yeah, talk about it. Yes. Okay, see again, another pivot of your life that I did not expect to hear in your story and your journey. Wow. Firstly,
Well, actually, I forgot to say something though, because one of the scary things about working in corporate that people always talk about, right, is getting stuck in that corporate ladder. And I am very competitive. So I already know I'm going to be in there and I'm going to be like, yeah, I can do this and I can beat this person. But I am an artist at heart. I don't want to forget that side of myself. So I came up with a plan, like it's a get out of corporate free card. I shouldn't be telling you this. But my get out of corporate free card was, why don't I open a business that gives me money so that I'm not stressing for like while I'm in school, finishing school, I have a job because I'll build a business and then, it'll be there if I ever want to leave. So I'm not stressed about losing income, right? That was a big venture. And so I wound up that was the plan, but what it took me into doing was becoming a franchisee of one of the largest Pilates networks or brands in the nation, really. So now I own 2 Club Pilates here in Georgia, and finished opening my second one while I was going through my final semester in school, and got engaged the same time. So I was like, yeah, I might admit that this might be too much right now.
there's a limit. The honestly, the first thing that I was thinking of, Krista, when do you sleep? Like, when do you go on holidays? Like, when
Yeah,
do you relax? Or is that not a thing in your world? It's just go
no,
for
right
it.
now.
All right.
Yeah, my one of my employees called me this morning. She's like, "How'd you sleep?" I'm like, "Oh, you mean that 2 hour nap? It was cool. It's great."
Firstly, congratulations on graduating
Thank
from
you.
school. That's
Thank
incredible.
you.
Well done. That's some hard work. Going to university or college is hard work. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you found another direction. And I love that your language of communication, or at least how people have communicated with you, that has had most impact is when they're aggressive and a little bit aggressive, like you should
Right.
be. Yes, I love that. That's
Right.
what's resonated with
I
you.
never put that together, but I guess I do kind of like that. Yeah.
I love it. I love that. That's how, yeah, that communication style works for you when people are a little bit aggressive about what you should do. You're like, yeah, okay,
Right.
that'll work. I love that. That's brilliant. Yeah, so congratulations. That's huge. So
Thank you.
life is going to look pretty radically different moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm gaining a whole new person in my life, so a whole new name. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So, but it's me. And I think a lot of times when people look at me, it can look like, oh my gosh, she has no direction. She is all over the place. But if you were in my brain, you actually see how each one of these things ties into the bigger picture. And I will be coming back again at some point, being like, did you see why I did it that way? And I got that thing, and I got that thing, and they all tie together now.
Mm.
And it's okay if I'm the only one who knows it for now. I don't mind looking crazy.
Well, the best people look crazy though. That's why. But I think there's actually like in the way that you've represented yourself and talked today, like it doesn't come across as crazy. So don't worry. It doesn't come across as crazy. Actually, it comes across as quite wise because you've mentioned, you are a creative person. Like you started acting, script writing, directing. Like this is not somebody who screams corporate. So
Yeah.
to say that this is the past that I've come from, this is the experience that I've had, this is who I am a creative person. And even though I'm stepping into a corporate space for a new challenge, for new excitement, for new life direction, for taking that step, and saying that you've still got like that backup plan, like that's something else, so that you don't lose that spark of creativity, I think is incredibly wise and really, really smart of you to be like, okay, what are my needs as a person? Where do I fit? And knowing yourself well enough and having, I guess, enough self-respect maybe.
Gumption.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that to know that, what, I need an out for this. Like I'm gonna need something to keep and maintain that creative space, because I think what happens when we don't do that, if we move into a different field or we try something new but we don't allow, or at least make space, or at least have a plan or have some idea in our minds, I require this to feel joy. Like this is what makes me
Right.
happy. I'm a creative person, so I need a creative outlet. Or, I'm a very structured person and I'm going into a very creative field. I need to make sure that I have some plan or some structure within that, no matter what it is or who you are. So I think that's quite wise of you to know, I'm a creative person. I'm going to need some kind of outlet or shape or something to do with this while I move into that space. So I think that's really wise.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank you. I'm excited about it. I didn't realize how much of a nerd I am, but apparently I am. It's in there.
what with the
I love
highlighting
sitting in
today.
front of a spreadsheet. Oh my goodness, give me a spreadsheet in like 5 hours. It's fun.
Oh, amazing. Beautiful. Very cool. Well, I think I've got one more question for you before we wrap up with our time today. But I did want to ask, out of all of the things you've done, because you've graduated, about to start a new job, publishing house, Pilates, acting, directing, what have I missed? Script writing, like out of all of these things that you've done and all this experience that you've had and all the things that you've been able to achieve, which is incredible, have there been any particular like big highlight points along the way? Like maybe it was a show that you worked on and you were like, yeah, that was just such an amazing place, or it was a script that you'd write it and it got published, and or somebody bought it and you were like, yeah, this is it, this is that moment. Have there been any really like highlighted points along the way that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've loved all of the roles pretty much that I've played in. I love doing this work, but what is the through line that you will always see with me? And it helped me understand why I can operate in so many different spaces. I am I think I got into acting because I love people. I owe it to the person who's watching me on the screen to to feel seen, heard, understood by the characters I portray. And that's why I wanted to do better characters or ones that talked a little bit more so that I could show them like, hey, I'm a reflection of you. Um, and I think that's the through line. The highlights of my in every industry is when I have helped somebody get to their next step. And being a coach, I'm so grateful. My goal is like getting them their big break so that they can stop coming to me and spending money because I want you to actually do something with this. I coach actors, I tape them all the time, even today. And that's my favorite thing is like, man, watching them like find it. Oh, is, and I don't want to be a coach forever, but I love watching people believe in themselves and get to that next step in life. Like that fuels me. And that has happened in the acting world, that has happened in my professional world. It's happening in the Club Pilates studios as I mentor people to like, wait, you mean I can be a mom and also be a business person? Absolutely. And let's do it together. Let's figure it out. And then watching them grow, and I'm like, yay. So
That little
I
proud
love it.
moment. Yay!
Yes, yes, I do. That's what fuels me.
Amazing. Cool. Krystal, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. This has been an absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
But before I let you go, for people that have heard you today and have loved listening to this podcast, if they want to follow you on social media or they want to see what you do next and what life is going to look like for you moving forward, do you have social media or somewhere where people can come and find you?
I do, yes. And it's really simple. It's my name. It's at Krystal M Harris. That's where it is everywhere. So Instagram, TikTok, that's pretty much the only ones I use. I have threads, but you don't want me to get on there. But I have an English degree now, guys. We could get into some things.
It'll be fun. It could be some more chaos. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes.
Well,
Thank
congratulations on your recent graduation and your engagement
you.
to be married very
Thank
soon
you.
again. Also
Ah,
very
thank
exciting.
you.
Congratulations on that as well. Are you going to have to change your handle on everything when you get married and change your surname?
I'm probably keeping my stage name because it is already with the union and everything, but on my IDs and stuff, absolutely, my name will be changing.
I'm looking forward to that.
I am. Yeah.
Beautiful. Krystal, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. So nice. Oh, this was fun. Now I know what we're talking about.